How are you?
So good. Thank you for asking. I am so pleased to be here. And yes, we did have Daryl on here not too terribly long ago, although it was all the way back in June. But as Matt said, we can't say enough about recovering from religion. And we are so grateful for your support and for the space to be able to tell about it.
So for those who aren't aware and who didn't pay attention the last time, recoveringfromreligion.org, this is, I mean, it's almost 10 years now?
10-year anniversary
10-year anniversary? Mm-hmm. And there's a retreat happening as well.
The same time as the Bat Cruise. It's this coming weekend. This is the first time we've ever done a real-time, in-person weekend religion recovery retreat. It's in a retreat setting in the cool mountains of North Carolina. It's next weekend, and it's all about. We've billed it as embrace your nature. It's all about stepping back into the position of being a human being, and sometimes where religion steps in and subverts us from our natural nature, it is recreating that and reconstructing that. And so that's what the weekend's all about, and we're so looking forward to it. Everything we do at Recovering from Religion helps. We try to answer the question, how can we help? And when people start to doubt and leave their faith, we have some options to provide them for some help. And this was an opportunity that we saw that we decided, let's give it a shot. So this is our first go. We hope to do it again in the future. We'll see how it goes this weekend.
Maybe in the future we just won't plan it as the same weekend as
Maybe
the
we should do that. We will check in.
Coordinate a little bit, because I'd like to go.
We will check in, and I want to do the Bat Cruise. Yeah. So, sure.
So now, I talked to Daryl not too long ago, shortly after he was on here, and we had a good conversation about people, the number of calls increasing and stuff after we talked about it, which always surprises me, because as someone who's involved in the movement and has been involved in this from the get-go, every time I meet somebody who hasn't already heard about recovering from religion, it's like, have you been under a rock, And so people will call us, and hopefully we'll get some calls like that today where there are people who are, perhaps in need of those resources. But you guys have the hotline, which you already gave the number for, online chat with volunteers.
Also 24 hours.
And who can or should call or join for chat?
Anybody. We've got folks from anywhere on the spectrum to call in. We have folks for whom the ground is just beginning to be a little soft in their belief, and they just want to ask some questions. And so our trained agents are standing by for those calls and chats and are willing to have a non-judgmental place where people can express their doubts and ask their questions. In addition to that, we have resources that we can provide. Sometimes people call in and they've been a non-believer for years, and yet there's this lingering fear of hell or this lingering religious artifact that's troubling them, and that's okay too. And so they call in, and our agents are there to listen. They're there to provide resources. We also, in addition to that, we are able to provide. We have created an online community. So after a chat or a call, when our agents feel like somebody could benefit from a little bit more time and a little bit more sharing, they're invited into the community. They self-select the subgroups that they want to belong to, LGBT or military or wherever from of the spectrum you are from. You can join as many as you want, and it's in there that they meet other people who are on a similar journey, dealing with similar struggles, shared language, shared experiences. And so our online community is another feature that we've added, as well as our local support group. So we've tried to cover every possible need, which is why, of course, we've added this open weekend retreat to be able to help people where they are and what their needs are.
And how many local, in-person support groups have you got where people can go and meet with people in person?
We have those in about 22 cities in the U.S. We have big plans to be able to, you set your goals every year, and our goal is to have them we'd like to have one in every state by this time next year, have a city support group, a local support group in every state by this time next year. When we get a dedicated volunteer, we provide the training, we underwrite the cost of the meetup page so that group can get together, and then those groups take on a personality of their own. If they want to meet once a week or once a month, or if they want to meet at the coffee shop or on Sundays, whatever it is they want to do, their leader will schedule a time, and it is pure peer support. And you know what that means? It's a place to talk it through. It's a place to express fear. It's a place to ask questions, maybe get some resources. And so we're trying to meet people where they are, whatever it is that they need.
So one of the things, there are tons of resources that we'll reference on the show from time to time, Recovering from Religion, Psychotherapist Project, Grief Beyond Belief, Foundation Beyond Belief, and we were lucky to work with a number of those organizations. One of the common threads that we've dealt with over the 14 plus years that I've been hosting the show is people will call up and say, well, I live in this town and I'm the only atheist here. And it has been incredibly frustrating to watch religious organizations who have this privileged position in our society already and kind of de facto, I mean, they have their tax-free exempt status without doing anything or showing anything in the public interest. But they have communities, and they've had this leg up for building communities. And people will look around and say, well, you know, religious people give more to charity than atheist people. Yes, but that's because religious organizations have had this position of being able to guilt people into donating and having a convenient place to do that. But when you donate to a religion, you have no idea how much of your dollar is going to anything good that you actually support because they don't have to open their books. For the rest of us who are running 501c3s, our books are open. You know what our effective is with dollar amounts and things like that. But hearing that there's over 20 cities now that have an actual group where you can go meet someone in person to have those conversations, these are the types of communities we've been hoping to build for ages and more. Not every, like, if we had a Recovering from Religion in every city in the United States, awesome. Apart from the fact that it demonstrates just how much recovery is needed. But there are also other communities that address other parts of the whole person. It's one of the things that I'm happiest about with the Atheist Community of Austin over the last couple of years. For the longest time, even before we had a building, it was, hey, there's a Sunday meetup, and when we do the Atheist Experience, and we'll do nonprofits as a recorded podcast and Godless Bitches and stuff like that. Now we're in a building, which is a proper community center. It's open 7 days a week from roughly 11 to 9. There are people here playing games and having philosophy meetups and having support group things. And it just struck me that we don't actually have like a Recovering from Religion meetup thing. So we'll fix that.
We'll fix that.
We can fix that relatively quickly. But building community centers, whether they focus on a specific narrow field like the Recovering from Religion, or community centers like the Atheist Community of Austin, where we're now producing content that isn't just the Atheist Experience and nonprofits and Godless Bitches. There's Secular Sexuality, which I mentioned is going to be premiering after this. That's also tied to Daryl Ray. Then there's, we've got Parenting Beyond Belief and Atheist Vanguard, and we're working to make sure we address the whole person, not just those of you who want to watch an argument about religion. But for those of you who do, you came to the right place.